Alright, these are the notes for 016 notes on graphing inequalities, slope-intercept form. Your objective, you'll be able to graph inequalities when given slope-intercept form. Inequalities. So, with that being said, something we practiced last class was graphing lines given slope-intercept form, like problems like y equals 2x minus 4, where we graphed a coordinate at 4, a negative 4 on the y-axis, because that's what our b tells us. So right here, we got to graph a point at negative 4. And then we have to do the slope of 2 over 1. So we rise 2, run 1. Rise 2, run 1. And then using a straight edge, we ended up connecting those coordinates. Using, again, a straight line that goes through the entire graph, just like you see there. Now we're going to take that concept and we're going to add one more little step to it. Something we got to remember from middle school is that inequalities are designed to represent more than one answer, as you see here. Later we'll talk more about piecewise functions, which will use even more inequalities. But here are some inequalities right now. This first one is less than, meaning if we had x equals 4, that means all the numbers that are less than 4, or x is less than 4. That's one way it could be written as. If the little inequality monster is eating the x, like you have here, x is greater than 3, that means all the numbers are greater than 3. If we have x is greater than 3. This one right here, x is less than or equal to, when there's a little line underneath, so x is less than or equal to 4. And last but not least, if the monster's eating the x and it has a line underneath, that means x is greater than or equal to. And let's just say 5. So x is greater than or equal to 5. Let's put this all together now so you see exactly what I mean. Let's say we got the equation y is less than 2x minus 4. And we got to graph it. So we know our y-intercept is at negative 4, so we put a dot at negative 4. And the slope is 2 over 1. So that means we go up 2 over 1. And connect them up. Make a straight line as you possibly can of the data. Go make it go all the way through the graph, like you see there. Now this is less than. Now anytime it's a less than or a greater than, we need to make this line a dashed line. So anytime you see either less than or greater than, that line is going to be dashed. That's why I made it dashed. Now, when they say y is less than, our answers are less than this line. So are the numbers above the line less than, or is it below the line that are less than? Well, anything that's below the line is less than. Less than is below the line. So we know we could shade this side of the line. Another way you could check is, like, always plot that b. So you could ask yourself, is below the dot less than or above the dot less than? Well, below a dot is less than. So that's how you can also decide which side to shade on. We're going to practice quite a few of these. So after we graph the line, we can then have to test the coordinate. I recommend using the coordinate 0, 0 because it makes the math really easy. Anything times 0 is 0. So it makes crunching numbers a little bit easier. So let's try graphing this guy. We have y is less than 4x minus 7. So what we got to do, we graph a coordinate at negative 7 because our b is negative 7. Then we're going to do a rise of 4 and a run of 1. So we rise up 4 and we run 1. There's our second point. We then connect those two coordinates. And we put a 0 in for x, and we put a 0 in for y. And we're testing this coordinate to figure out if we got a shade that way. So is 0 less than 4 times 0, which is 0, minus 7? Is 0 less than -7? Is that a true statement or a false statement? Well, that's false. 0 is not less than -7. So since that's a false statement, that means we have to shade on the other side. Or the little shortcut, if you go to your coordinate, less than. Well, less than is below the line, so you gotta go below the coordinate, so I know I have to shade on this side. So that's another quick way you could do it. Alright. Let's try another one. Y is greater than 4x minus 7. So it's going to be the same like graph. I didn't change that up too much. So -7, we know is there. Rise of 4, run a 1. We connect them up. So for something like this, where it's y is greater than 4x minus 7, we put in that 0, 0 point, we put 0 there and 0 there. So is 0 greater than -7? Well, that's a true statement. Since it's true, we're going to shade on the side that has that 0, 0 point, which is all over here on this side of the dashed line, or of the drawn line there. And yes, this line's supposed to be dashed because it's greater than. So I'll make that a dashed line. So everything's perfectly correct there. So we have a dashed line, and everything on that side is a dashed line. I bet I did the same thing here. Yeah, I forgot to make this a dashed line. Alright. So if you caught that, good job. Alright, so this one now we have less than is equal to, so that's going to be a solid line. Try to make the graph as big as I can. So we have y is less than or equal to 6x, less than or equal to 2x minus 6. So we have the coordinate -6, so we plot a coordinate at -6. The slope is 2 over 1, so we go up 2 over 1. And we have our nice line here. And our goal is y is less than. So less than, if I go to this coordinate, I plot at -6, less than, the numbers less than -6 are down, they're down here. So I know I have to shade on this side of the line. Or I could put that 0, 0 point in and I could test it. Is 0 less than or equal to 2 times 0 minus 6? In other words, is 0 less than or equal to -6? That's a false statement. So I know that 0, 0 point, this point right here that I make in blue, I know that point is not true. So I have to shade on the other side. So there's two ways you could do it. Let's try another one. We have y is greater than 2x plus 4. So we have 2x plus 4, so we need to plot a coordinate at +4, which is right there. 2x, that means up 2 over 1. So I plot it. I connect those two coordinates. Then next I'm going to test it. I'm going to say, hey, you know what? 0 is 0 greater than or equal to 2 times 0 plus 4? Is 0 greater than or equal to 4? Well, that's a false statement. The 0, 0 point is not true. It's false because 0 is not greater than 4. So the numbers that are greater than 4 are on above it. So you want to shade above and everything on that side of the wall. Alright. So one of the things we could do, I could talk about, is using an app to help graph things if your graphing calculator is out of batteries or whatever type of scenario you might find yourself in. There's a nice little app called Desmos. They can have you practice plugging things in. Now, sometimes you could get multiple choice where y is less than 3x plus 3. You're going to have to identify as far as A, B, and C which graph is the correct one and how they shade it, which is something we practice in class. And another thing we practice, or we need to practice here, make sure I put it in the notes. We need to practice if we have an equation of y is greater than 3. So if we have y is greater than 3, we know we have to make a horizontal line at positive 3, like we said here in our black line here. Now this black line, it needs to be dashed because it's just greater than. And where are the numbers that are greater than 3? Are they above or below the horizontal line? Well, greater than is above. So we got to shade everything above that horizontal line. Let's say now we have x is less than 4. So we have x is less than 4. Delete that previous one. X is less than 4. That means we need to make a vertical line, a line going up and down, at positive 4. So I have that blue dashed line at positive 4. And now the numbers that are less than 4. So less than is to the left. So I'm going to shade on the left hand side of the equal sign, because that's where the numbers are. They're less than. If I have x is greater than a number, like for example x is greater than 2, that means I'm going to have a horizontal line at positive 2. And I shade to the right because greater than is to the right. So x is greater than 2, you shade to the right, a positive 2. And if you had y is less than, last little scenario, let's say y is less than 6. I make my nice little dashed horizontal line, and then since it's less than, I shade below that horizontal line. Make sure that horizontal line goes all the way across, so it's nice and pretty. Alright, so classwork and homework. So your classwork is going to be 016 CW1. Graphing, slope, intercept, form, inequalities. And your homework is going to be 016 HW1, graphing, slope, intercept, form, inequalities. Alright, if you have any questions, feel free to email me or come to Extra Help. I'll be happy to help you out. Or we can schedule a Google Meet. That's cool too. Alright, have yourself a good night.